to the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords and some of the organizations that I saw listed on the advertisement. Most of my work and books deal with the Black Panther Party, Young Lords, and some of the organizations, racial politics. And I did politics. So I kind of gathered bits and pieces, which I was hoping to from the Q&A, which is where I want to go last. But again, I'm making assumptions. I'm assuming it has something to do with associations and identity politics and nation building and liberation and some of those things, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of the formal aspects, of the paper, I'm interested in the ways in which, the Black Panthers and the Young Lords were sites of inspiration for something like the Great Revolution. Right? And you can sort of see that inspiration on, just the genre of the platform, right? So like their platform is very much modeled on the Black Panthers platform and the Young Lords platform, all right? And there's also a sort of like affective, sort of connection between those platforms, right? So what the Black Panthers and the Young Lords were allowing them to do is to state and articulate desires, for social transformation, right? So I'm interested in that genre, of the platform. The other thing that interests me, just in general, with my work, but also that I'm trying to assess with this project, is, a lot of us came out of Black nationalism, I'm saying like a lot of Black queers, right? So that, it was certainly for me, my first critical formation, and, it was the same for Jack Alexander, it was same for Barbara Smith, So what does it mean to have a genealogy in the very thing that, you have to distance yourself from because of the homophobia, right? And also the sexism, right? And so part of what I want to do is, to sort of account for, what were those bits and pieces that allowed for these bits and pieces within things like the Panthers, that allow for the emergence of these excesses, these Black queer excesses, that went on to sort of be artists and activists, what have you. But, it's one thing, we can simply say that, their relationship to those organizations, they had to leave them, right? That's one way to account for the relationship, and that's true. Another way to account for the relationship is also to say, well, there were elements within those Black radical nationalist organizations that also might have, provided a kind of grammar for Black queer activism, art. So like, that's what I'm interested in this project. So part of what I want to do, and I'm still figuring out how to do this, is look for the traces of the erotic in the Black nationalists. Like, where would the trace of the erotic be in the souls of Black folk? Where would it be in the Black Panther? Where would it be in C.L.R. James, right? Because, the assumption that I'm trying to develop there is that
it's all up in C.L.R. James.
Is that you don't invent yourself from scratch.
Right.
And part of the resources for Black queer inventions, it seems, has been the certain elements of Black nationalism. In other words, it wasn't simply a sort of an absolute negative relationship with Black nationalism. It was also, an incorporative aspect to Black nationalism, or an incorporative relationship between Black reformations and Black nationalism. So, for instance, like when Du Bois says in The Souls of Black Folk, in the chapter about spiritual strivings, that freedom is what we must seek: the freedom to work, the freedom to life and limb, the freedom to love and aspire. You know? Like, my guess is that that was an opening for somebody, you know, in terms of articulating a kind of Black queer subjectivity. You know?
The party, they did have they did a lot of self-criticism. And one of those, they were the only group in that period actually to come out on behalf of LGBT issues.
Yes, exactly right. No, exactly right. I mean, so I think, you know, and I've done work with that, and I think that that is an example of, you know, the way in which it launched, you know, certain Black radical queer stuff. Like, you know, I remember there was a woman who's now deceased now, professor at San Diego State, Sharon Grant Henry, who I did a lecture on Cuban Youth Peace at Malcolm X Library years ago in San Diego. And she said to me, you know, that was, because of that speech, I joined the Black Panther. You know, she's a Black lesbian.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You know, and so I think that there are other stories like that, or other sort of reading practices that encouraged, you know, people to desire, you know, a kind of subjective transformation, you know, an invention as Black queer subjects in that period, you know. Or another example is like when Kabina Mercer says that one of the things that impacted, you know, Black queers in the UK was when C.L.R. James came in 1981 and told us we need to be reading Toni Morrison, Ntozake Shange, and Alice Walker. You know? Like, there's a moment in which that's an example of how a Black nationalist figure, or, you know, sort of, you know, Black radical figure, actually becomes part of the resources for the development of you know, kind of explicit Black queer subjectivity, political and artistic.
Okay. No. Thank you so much.